Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, guys, let's start our today's session. Can anyone remind me about what we talked about last lecture?
we talked about the theory of rational choice.
Yeah. What exactly?
We talked about the theory, the rational, its definition, its characteristics of the rational choice.
Yeah, more elaboration on this.
I don't remember exactly what the specific words, but I tried to say it generally. Yeah.
The headlines. Okay, so what does it mean when we speak of like someone or people act rationally or individual acts rationally? What does that mean?
It means that
It's
Yeah.
دكتور سوري بس سارة عصام مش عارفة تخش.
I don't have any request from her.
It means we choose the sufficient choice or the best choice.
Okay, when you're faced with like so many alternatives or choices, so you can choose. You have the ability,
Rationally?
yeah,
Yes.
to act rationally. You have the ability, meaning you have the ability to choose the best course of actions.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. In what sense?
We talk that people tend to maximize their interests, and like that you said now, and also we talked about the uncertainty and the calculation of how people would choose the best decisions. And we also talked about how the rational decision might be like a person could make a bad decisions, but it also counted as a rational decision.
Who is talking? Karma?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So researchers or rationalists tend to like know why those people choose the bad decisions upon what criteria.
Okay, can you organize your thought and put like what I said last lecture concisely?
Okay.
If anyone does that, I'll give her or him a bonus.
Can I mention something?
Yeah?
Malak?
Aya? Malak? Yeah, yeah.
Yes. We first talk about acting rationality, and we said that we choose the best one over the worst, over the worst from various alternatives. Yani. Then we mentioned, we talked specifically in the last lecture about methodological talking, and we mentioned 4 things: the reason, self-interest.
Under what heading we can put these 4 things?
Under the heading of assumption and that deductive model, the crucial assumption.
The main assumptions of the rational choice.
Yes. And you mentioned reason, self-interest, uncertainty, and the last one was constraints, or something that control your actions a little bit. And we mentioned while talking that sometimes we may have irrational outcome, but rational theory mentioned that this may still a rational choice.
Not exactly, but okay. Let me give you a summary.
Can I add something? And we also talk about how the environment influence us to choose
the constraints.
Yes. How the environment influence our rational choice.
Okay. So we talked about. Yeah.
We also talking about how when we face other competitor, we build an assumption about his interest to but our interest in upper level or can exceed him.
Can you repeat what you said? I'm not sure if I got the main point.
يعني لما يكون في منافس تاني.
In English, try in English.
When there is a competitor to me, I'm trying to put an assumption about his interests.
Yeah, it's kind of a strategic interdependence. So you take your decision in light of how others, will act or respond, and in light of the information available as well to you, right? Yeah. So let me give you a summary of what we talked about last lecture. So it means we talk about the main assumptions of rational choice theory. And the main point here that when some critics, offer like some some critics highlight some gaps, so proponents of rational choice respond to these kind of critiques by modifying the main model. So first of all, the main, like the foundation is you have to know like the motivation beforehand in advance in order to detect or to say whether or not, this person or this individual or this choice or action is a rational one or not. So the main assumptions are everyone is seeking like self-interest, or in a sense of using reason in order to seek self-interest, in a sense of maximizing utility, okay? And this kind of utility, some of critics would say, what, it's not only a material one. So that's why rational choice theory offered a kind of a broader definition of this utility in order to include, some non-material preferences as well. So like religious convictions, normative motivations, community standards can be like kind of can be depicted as kind of preferences. And then when some opponents would say, what, it's not, you overestimate, the rational capacity, this kind of rational calculations of a human being, because actually they don't have like full foresight of the consequences of their actions. So that's why rational choice theory offers another pillar or assumption regarding uncertainty. So when you plug this in, or when you integrate this into the rational choice model, so you can interpret or you can explain irrational behavior in light of use, or while using still the rational choice assumptions. And then when they are faced with this kind of criticism that they actually they focus mainly and exclusively on individual choices, so they actually, and they didn't pay attention to the environment or the other kind of constraints. So rational choice theory, what, we do care about, we don't assume that, because we do care about the individual choices, but these choices are made within environment or within a specific institutional setting. So that's why they introduced, this assumption regarding, or they actually highlighted, this assumption regarding environment constraints that actually come from the environment. It could be economic ones, because of the scarcity of resources. So people make rational choice within the limit of their economic resources, and on the other hand, institutional setting as well, that would impose kind of rules and sanctions in order to enforce people to comply with these rules, and or define, the main payoffs or the utility they can drive from these choices. Okay. And then one of the gap, actually, they try actually to fill or to respond to one of the criticism they try to respond to as well, that, what, when you use these kind of statistical and mathematical models, you don't tell us, more about what constitutes these perceptions, what constitutes like the preferences of individuals, where they come from, and how what kind of strategic interaction they got engaged in order to come up with these decisions. So we need to know more about these kind of strategic interactions between different actors or different players, how they coordinate, how they can converge, or how can they derive some beliefs about other people actions or other people responses. So that's why rationalists actually offered what they call this kind of analytic narratives. So instead of using only these kind of mathematical and statistical models, so they actually respond to these critiques by using some other methodological tools. So they can use interview archives, like they use like this kind of non-statistical, or it's not that like non-hard tools, in order to offer more what they call compelling story about causality. So the main departure point is still rationality and rational behavior. But instead of running these kind of regression models or using statistical tools only without more elaboration on the causality, the mechanisms why people choose this, how the form or these preferences, how they interact, with other actors strategically. So that the main departure point is still rationality, self-interest, and reason, but they need to focus on a specific moment when actors like made a decision, and they offer us detailed knowledge about this. They identify the main players and they put this in a context of the case. So they offer like more detailed case analysis in order to tell us how these actors, what are the main actors involved in the game or in the process of decision making, and how they come up with this decision, and why they behave the way they behaved. And it doesn't actually this doesn't actually eliminate any kind of competing or alternative explanations, but it still like it still offers us some sort of causality and some generalization about human behavior. Back again to the example I gave like last lecture about the breakdown of democratic regime in Chile or in Latin America, basically in Chile and Brazil. Can anyone remind me about that example? So if we need to have this kind of analytic narratives about rational choices or about political actors' choices at this moment, how can we say that? Any thoughts?
I think we talked about Pinochet and how he seized power in Chile, and
yeah.
Huh?
But the process, the mechanisms. So first, in order to offer this analytic narratives, we need to identify the main players. Who were the main players? Do you remember the two camps? Okay, so the context was this kind of polarized situation between different political forces, right-wingers and left-wingers, okay? And the right-wingers, they were divided from within between like gradualist or soft-liners and hardliners, and similarly the left-wingers as well, between like hardliners and soft-liners. And the main disagreement over the pace at which they can introduce social and economic reforms and to save democracy. So that was the choice. They had to make a choice in order to introduce some reforms, gradual reforms and save democracy, or we can stick to our we can keep our ideological camp coherent, and we don't introduce any kind of reform, and eventually this led to the collapse of the democratic regime in Chile. So the thing here, so you identify the main players, the two camps, and the division between like the softliners and hardliners. So you have like four main players at critical moment, this kind of deep social polarization, and they had to make decisions regarding the pace of social and economic reform, and about the stability, or how to stabilize or to endure the existing regime. So the main thing I got, the main thing here, this is from the literature as well. So the Cohen actually applies, game theory, and this. Yeah. I can't hear you, guys. Can you hear me?
Doctor, there are some our colleagues have problems. Maybe
problems with what?
They have technical problems. Doctor, they can get into
the
meeting.
They cannot join?
No, the
yes, they can't join us.
That you're gonna accept accept them, but they can't get in.
Please allow them to join us.
Who are they?
There's a lot of them, like 5
I
or 6.
accepted someone called Lubna Tariq. I admitted her several times, but I'm not sure why she's not able to join. So I don't know what to do.
There's Yara Abdel Maqsood.
Sarah Sam.
زيارة مميار
Noor.
حسن.
Okay. Sarah?
Sarah Sam.
Yeah.
ميار
Mayar?
حسن.
Minna Zohdi.
Minna? I don't have her. Oh, yeah, here.
And Yara Abdel Maqsood.
Yara? I have Yara Salim.
Oh, yeah. She's
Yeah, okay.
there.
Yeah.
And Amr, please, doctor.
Yara Salim. Amr Walid? Yeah, okay.
And
Yes.
Sandra Khalid, doctor, please.
Sandra? Yusuf?
Sandra Khalid.
I have Sandra Yusuf. So maybe... No, this is not...
Yes, Sandra
Sandy?
Yusuf.
Sandy?
Sandy, I think.
Sandy? Yeah, okay.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. So this is the analytic narrative you can offer. So you identify first the main player and the context or the environment within which, you know, these players, they had to take decision, or they had to make this kind of decision. And you can say, like, you have like two equilibria here. The first one, they can introduce these kind of reforms, gradual reforms, and save democracy. So gradual reform, the soft liners here and soft liners there, they can get together, they can, they defected, and they can defect, and in order to converge on this decision, like to introduce gradual reform and to keep like to save democracy and exclude extremists. Or the second option is like everyone would stay in his own camp and keep his own camp coherent, and this like no reform, no democracy, and this allowed the military to intervene and to put an end to Allende's regime. It was like democratically elected leftist president. So the thing, I got like a question last lecture about how about different or alternative explanations as well. You cannot apply only game theory to this, so you can come up with a different, you know, explanation as well. So perhaps it's not about the interaction between these two camps. It has something to do with internal dynamics within the left, within the leftist parties as well. So this is what rational choice like theory argues for. It doesn't eliminate or it doesn't rule out alternative explanations. They are still there, but they can actually offer more kind of a compelling story of causality that's not context specific. It can be generalizable, or it can travel across different countries and different contexts by allowing, you know, this analytic narrative in order to increase the explanatory leverage of the theory. So they don't sacrifice this kind of generalization or this positivistic essence of the theory, but they responded in a way or another to some concerns and take, you know, these concerns on board in order to increase the predictive and explanatory power of the theory. Okay, so there is no claim of a specificity here. This is the causality here, like X causes Y, like this kind of fear of uncertain context that the leftist forces, you know, might defect, but they are not sure whether or not, you know, the right would backtrack on their promises. So this kind of incomplete information on uncertain context could be, it's not like specific to Chile and the context of Chile and Brazil at this particular moment, but it can they produce, you know, more generalizable results. And they don't claim contingency as well, like so many constellation of events and acts at specific point led to like divergent outcomes between different cases. They don't claim that. They are still they still believe, you know, in this in reaching in this regularity and reaching, you know, this general law that can be applicable to like universal law that can be applicable to different contexts. And with regard to this kind of methodological individualism, by focusing mainly on this kind of individual choices like elite choices or voter choices, and then you can explain like voting behavior or a breakdown of like a democratic regime in Latin America. So the theory was accused of being like reducing, you know, it's a methodological orientation to individual level of analysis, or to this kind of micro foundational element of decision making. But again, rational choice people would say, you know what, our approach to social and political phenomena is individualistic, because we focus on the individual choices and behavior and action, which is like presumably rational. But we do also care about aggregation of individual choices. So we focus on, we start out with this kind of individual choices, but we are interested in this collective political outcome, the aggregation or the aggregate level of these individual choices. So back to our lecture on ontology and epistemology, rational choice theory, rationalists actually, they don't claim that they are committed to ontology in which only individuals really exist, because they don't care about the environment within which, you know, these decisions, or the context, or the institutional context and rules and sanctions and economic constraints within that would affect and shape actually the payoff structure and shape individuals' behavior and actions. So they don't care, they pay attention to beliefs, expectations, rules and roles, and these are intersubjective, like meaning from your interaction with your colleagues, or from the interaction between different actors, these kind of interactions shape the behavior and motivate them to take, you know, particular, or to choose one particular alternative over another. I'm not sure if Lujain wants to ask a question.
No, this all
Yeah, because I have your hand up, so I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So this is like the main assumptions, and then like this is very important, because when we are moving to the critiques, this is very important to know like how critics, you know, offer what kind of point of view like the opponents of rational choice actually criticize or accuse, you know, rationalists of, and how rational choice, you know, theory or theorists actually replied, you know, to this critique by these critiques by offering some modifications or integrating more modifications into the model. And then they ended up saying, you know what, we don't know that you know the context is really rich, and the human behavior and psychology is really complex. But you know what, the main target here is to offer more parsimonious explanation, so you cannot get full grasp of the complexity of the reality without sacrificing, you know, this analytical rigor. So you need to offer more parsimonious explanation, more
Doctor, what the meaning of
more simplification, parsimonious. It's you can look up, you know, the definition in Arabic, but it means like, you know, it's more like tight or neat, you know, explanation of more kind of a simplified explanation of reality to capture in a more simplified way, rather than offering, you know, more complex analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we offer just, it's an abstraction or simplification of this more complex reality. And we do know like this kind of the psychology and human behavior are really complex, and we cannot like capture this kind of complexity by offering rigorous, you know, analytical or explanation from particular theory. And we do respond to some concerns by refining the main assumptions of the theory, by offering, you know, this kind of uncertainty and constraints and taking this on board, but without sacrificing our positivistic essence, like this causality and this belief in universality or generalization, and to offer, you know, this law-like regularities. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, so the application of rational choice. Yeah, I'm repeating. You know what? You can find like, so many applications in political science, and especially in IR when it comes, or yeah, when you take like, an IR course, you can find, some sort of application to rational choice as well. But we focus here on its application on to some comparative issues or themes. So I opted for two main applications: collective action and political representation, or spatial model of political representation. So we start with collective action. So what collective action means? Anyone? I'm just reminding you that like your participation counts toward the final grade. So your participation would be like,
I
yeah?
think
Malak?
collective action, yes,
Yeah?
refers to an action taken by a group of people, not depending on only individual. يعني not not by
Yeah?
myself. I'm going to take an action. I'm going to share, for example, with my colleagues, and we are going to come up with an action or with a decision.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. So it's not like individual action. It's kind of how to orchestrate or to coordinate kind of behavior in order to meet a group goal. Okay, so you have to work together towards, final outcome that would benefit, all the members of the group. Okay, that means like collective action. So according to rational choice, they kind of assume that if you have like common interest, or so automatically you can work as a rational and self-interest agency or individual. So you guys will get together in order to achieve your the best outcome, or the group, the achievement of the group goal.
دكتور ممكن
But
نقول
this is like
can I say
yeah,
something?
yeah, go ahead.
Participating in political and social activities like elections, referendum.
Yeah, if you guys support particular party, so on the election day you will like go to the polling station in order to cast a vote, for your favorite candidate or favorite party. Okay. If you
Doctor,
guys, yeah,
is the aim of the rational choice theory الcollective action يعني بتاعهم أو الbehavior إن هم maximize their utility?
yeah. This is like in a but in different I mean, like you can offer examples. Maximizing utility in what sense? It depends on your kind of position. If you are a student, so you can join like a student union in order to push for like more study area, more educational facilities in like in lecture halls. So it depends, like voters, they need to cast a vote for their favorite candidates. Labor unions, they need to act collectively in order to pressure, the employer in order to advance, to get like some kind of pay increase, or to increase their bargaining position in relation to industrialists. So it depends on like the identity of the actors, or who the actors we are talking about. Okay, but generally speaking, you need to coordinate your behavior in order to achieve the best outcome. Okay, to choose like, what's like the better alternative over, the one that would actually don't meet, your maximum utility, or don't maximize your gains. Okay, so according to rational choice, this kind of organization of interest would come out automatically. Okay, but Olson here introduces an idea of free riding and group size This is he kind of popularized, you know, this idea of a collective action problem. Okay, so what's the problem here? If I ask you guys to without paying any kind of without any financial cost, but if I ask you, it's a class of like 60 or 70, and I ask you to sign a letter to the dean to ask him to have like in order to have like one lecture every other week physically, like face-to-face interaction at FEPS, okay? And you see this is like would benefit you because you might have like so many questions or queries, and you need to interact like physically and like we can have like, you know, this kind of non-virtual interaction in order to digest, you know, some ideas or to talk more about, you know, the coursework or the final exam. So what's the best course of action here?
The best course of action for us is to go to the dean and ask for extra lecture in the faculty.
Okay. And this outcome, the product, is like, you know, offering like a space for us, like a spacious one, like a spacious room, just to comply with, or to actually to have this kind of social distances. So this is the outcome, right? And the outcome, this like offering, you know, this spacious, spacious room, it's kind of it's kind of a collective or public good, meaning it's kind of non-excludable, meaning like if 10 of you did that and the dean agreed to offer, you know, this room, like the rest of us, the rest of the like the other colleagues or the rest of the class, you know, would join us during, you know, this kind of office hour or face-to-face office hour without actually incurring any cost, without bothering, you know, to make it from their home to the faculty in order to meet the dean. Okay,
Doctor, you mean that in the collective action, there is some of people don't have to pay any effort, and they in the same time
will
they
enjoy
get the outcome. They get the outcome of the group.
Will enjoy the outcome as well. Yeah, this is like the essence or the substance of the collective good or the public good. It's available for everyone. Okay, even if those who didn't pay the cost. Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay.
The other problem
Doctor,
with this, yeah.
I think the other problem is there will be a conflicting interest. Like there might some people who wants to take the lecture like face to face, and others who would like.
Yeah, that's why I started out with the assumption that all of you, like, this is like the best outcome for all of you. Okay, there is no disagreement over that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the best course of action. I'll give you another example, but this is like for more simplification, okay? And indivisible as well. If you have like this spacious room, if you enjoy, like if you have your own space, you cannot keep other colleagues, you know, from enjoying, you know, the like having a space in the spacious room as well. And perhaps like other course or other colleagues, you know, in like third level or whatever, you know, they can make use of this spacious place as well. So you are like a group of 70, and the outcome or the public good is non-excludable. So anyone, even those who didn't waste their time, didn't make it, you know, from home during, you know, the COVID, from home to and they didn't take any kind of risk or to pay any kind of cost, they would enjoy, you know, the same outcome as well. And you cannot keep them from enjoying or from like consuming this particular outcome. So again, the collective action, if like peasants, for example, they have like same common material demands. So if they can act collectively, if they form like agricultural cooperatives in order to put pressure on mayors or like local government in order to increase subsidies or agricultural credit for them at low interest rates, so they would all like maximize their gains and benefits out of this collective action. Okay, but what's puzzling that people like don't translate this common interest into a particular organization or particular action automatically. Okay, any guess why? So rational choice this is kind of suboptimal, or it seems that inefficient outcome. So like collective action problem would help you understand and explain this behavior. How?
Doctor, I'm not sure, but I think there is a group of people benefit from the effort of other people, and this is inequality.
No, this is like it's rationally to free ride on others people. I avoided, guys, when you read Olson, just to try avoid this kind of technical explanations. He used equations or just avoid this. I just need the intuition behind this. So avoid any kind of technical explanations, and avoided putting some equations here as well. But this is like basic math. So rationally, you can take particular action if your benefits are greater than costs, right? So you see here the asterisk benefits greater than costs, right?
Yes.
But like basic math, if you have like a class of
Doctor, I'm really sorry for interruption, but Tariq have a problem in the connection. Can you give her a permission to get in again?
I tried several times to admit her. Perhaps, yeah, it has some trouble, like some problem with the connection, so that's why she's not able to join us. But anyway,
thank
the
you for
lecture
your
will be available. Yeah. Anyhow, so this is like the benefits. This is like rationally, right? No problem with that. But this like asterisk, this is the probability that you would like derive the benefits or the fractions or the value units of the outcome you would benefit from in relation or comparing these kind of benefits to the costs to work out the gains and the costs. If you have like a large number, if this class is like 70, so the fraction of the value of the unit or the value of your benefits from having this kind of a spacious place would be greater than what other individuals would gain from this collective behavior or from this collective outcome or collective good. So meaning, is there any difference between large groups and small groups? So imagine if you are a group, if this class is like only like, if I have only like 10 students, so is it compatible? Does it make any difference to act collectively when you are like small number and when you have like a large group? Any guess on that?
I think a small number will make it easy to make the right decision or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
why?
The large group will be so hard because there is a lot of like ideas and there's a lot of things that can...
No, from these calculations, from the equation. If you're a small group, so
Doctor,
yeah, even if this public good is indivisible, yeah, even if the public good is indivisible and non-excludable, but still the benefits you derive from or the gains you derive from your collective action, even if like 1 or 2 of you out of 10 they take this decision or initiative in order to reach out to the dean and to guarantee or to offer us this kind of a spacious place, your benefits, like the benefits or the gains, derived from this action as an individual will exceed even the benefits, the other individuals that didn't pay the cost or they didn't join you. It's still your benefits exceed, the benefits they would derive from that. If there is a small group of business people, okay, so you have like a small sector of particular, a trade sector, okay, and this kind of, they have like small number, like people that would produce or particular, products or outputs, and they need to act collectively in order to pressure, the national government or the state, in order to impose tariffs on the exported goods in order to protect their products. Even if you as an individual in this small number, in this small group, if you take the action and to take the effort in order to sign petition or to reach out to parliamentary candidates or to meet, some decision makers in order to promulgate or to issue this law, your benefits, even if the other 9 or whatever, the small number didn't join you, you will gain, you will have like some more benefits than the benefits that would be enjoyed, by or consumed by other members. This is not the case if you have a large number. If you have a large number, the fraction or the value of the unit you enjoy would be, this is basic math, okay, would be, this is the left-hand side, okay, would be, wouldn't exceed, the benefits the individuals that didn't incur any cost would enjoy. So the best course of action is to free ride. Okay, I'm not gonna like waste my time to join, these groups, because they will ask for subsidies. I'm going to enjoy it anyhow. You will ask for spacious space. I'm gonna like use it anyhow, or perhaps it will be available for other students as well. So why should I bother? Okay, so this is like a free riding problem, and this is how Olson actually made contribution. Yeah, Nisma. Let me finish and then I'll take, let me finish and I'll take your questions, okay? So the thing is, you have like traditional theories of group, like you have like this kind of traditional theory tells you, what, as individual, you have this intrinsic instinct or intrinsic inclination to join other groups that are similar to you. In these kind of primitive societies or tribal societies, they have this kind of tribal sense of belonging or sense of identification. So you have this intrinsic inclination, like animals, to join, people who are similar to you in order to fight for your own interest, okay? So they didn't pay attention to the size of the group. They didn't care about the same reason, no one, regardless of, this is like the voluntary, this kind of volunteering action by actually joining a particular member. You have the same reason regardless of this is a small number or a large number. And you have in modern societies as well, it was like in the literature, because of this kind of modern society, so you have like advanced societies, so they had like some sort of social differentiation that it actually came from modernization and industrialization and urbanization. So you have these kind of more professional association in order to defend your own interest. So the size, in a sense of, it would affect the scale of functions. Like if you have like peasants organizations, so they might focus on these actually associations function only in rural areas with like a low or a narrower scale of functions. But if you compare this to professional syndicates or business associations, so they might have a larger scale of functions. But they didn't pay attention to the group size, and they assumed that voluntarily people would join in order to in order to meet their own interest. So how Olson here, by introducing this collective action problem and the group size and the free riding issue, he actually offered some explanation why it's much more difficult in large groups to work collectively in order to achieve the best outcome, in order to achieve their own interest or the collective interest. And he differentiated differentiated between like privilege, like some groups are privileged already because they are small, so their own like their common interest or collective interest will be met anyway, and like intermediate groups, they had like fair chance to achieve their collective interest, but large groups, they need, because of this collective action problem or free riding problem, so they need kind of selective incentives. Selective incentives, it could be negative or positive, positive in terms of inducement or rewards, material or non-material, and coercion. For example, labor unions, if you don't pay this kind of selective incentives in a sense of paying the cost by paying membership fees in order to take advantage of the collective goods, or in a sense it would be like excludable or like exclusive to those who paid the cost. So if you pay this kind of membership fees, so you the trade union will have a lawyer to defend your rights, to strike, or to defend your rights if you got some sort of forced firing, for example. So if you are a member in the trade union, and if you only pay as members, pay the fees, the membership fees, so you will take benefits, or you will enjoy the gains, our association would offer. So here, your expected benefits plus this kind of selective rewards would actually be greater than the cost, and this, what Olson mentioned, would mobilize the latent capacity in large groups, and incentivize, actually motivate them, or offer some sort of incentives to them in order to act collectively and to achieve, the best outcome as a group. Okay, any question?
Yes, doctor. Can you please?
Similarly, if I ask you, if I offer you, this is a large class, so if I mention, people who don't join, who don't sign, this petition in order to submit to the dean, won't join, our session at the faculty. So in this sense, you will be kind of immobilized, this latent capacity to act. Okay, so I kind of obliged them in order to, it's conditional now, in order to take advantage or to make use of this spacious place or room, you have to incur the cost. Or I offer like more positive inducements or rewards. Like people who would do that will get like 3 points, of the participation grades. So the analogy is clear now?
Yes, it's more clearer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Doctor, can you hear?
And you can withdraw the analysis to political science. Yeah. Who's talking?
Is the percentage of Yara?
Go ahead.
Is the percentage of the benefit of the limited size for those who don't do effort is smaller than the
Yara, I can't hear you.
Doctor, are you
Yara?
hearing me?
No.
Yes.
Yeah? Tell me.
Is the percentage of the benefit is smaller in the limited size for those who don't do effort?
The focus here, I'm not sure if I didn't hear you well, but anyway, in small groups, the benefits anyway would exceed, for the group, would exceed the cost, but your fraction or the unit value of the public good or the public good or the outcome exceeds the benefits any other individual would drive, even if they don't pay the cost.
Okay, doctor.
Doctor, can you hear me?
No. Who's talking?
Lujain.
Lujain, yeah.
Doctor, I'm sorry for the interruption, but a friend of mine called Selma Tajuddin, her laptop's battery died and she's trying to join again.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Doctor, I want to ask a question.
Okay. Malak, yeah?
Do you mean that, yes, Malik, we can minimize the negativities or the problem of collective, يعني using this collective method or collective groups by doing those two things, يا إما mobilization أو
No,
offering words?
incentives, by offering incentives in a negative or in a positive sense.
Okay.
Negative means like penalties or punishments, okay? Like you kind of coercion, you oblige people to behave the way, you know, they should behave in order to meet, you know, this collective outcome, or positive by offering some sort of inducements.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Another application is this is spatial representation of politics and what's called the median theory. Okay, a median voter theorem. So the assumptions here, by the way, like rational choice, like any kind of analysis like that departs from rational choice assumptions, they should have like assumptions about rationality. Okay, so the assumptions here, what's the rational or the best course of action for any political party?
To maximize their vote and to win.
Sorry? Increase
their votes.
Yeah, to maximize votes in order to win. Okay, and in order to do that, according to Downs' analysis or models here, he mentioned something like political parties would change, you know, their position on the political spectrum, or to change their policy programs and platforms in order to attract more voters, to maximize their votes. So actually, there is no normative content here. So political parties or political candidates actually they come up with some sort of policy programs in order to assume office or to reach power, rather than reaching power to implement some sort of public policies or policy programs to benefit people or for the welfare of their social or electoral constituencies. And this is like he talks about this kind of the environment. So he actually limits the analysis, or the main assumption or the main environment is a democratic environment, meaning people in power, they don't use power in order to keep opposition from contesting in elections, or they can use unconstitutional means in order to stay in office. So there is kind of transparent and regular elections, and they compete, you know, transparently and openly in order to attract voters or to maximize their votes. So this is the rationality of the political parties. When it comes to voters, as a voter, what kind of rationality we can speak of?
He wants to choose the party that will represent him well, and that, like, he wants to choose the perfect party that would hear them and represent them.
In what sense? Yeah, in what sense? Representation in what sense?
Choose the one who
sense of belonging.
This is one of the criticism, by the way, but this model, they didn't pay attention, like Down or the spatial model, they don't pay attention to this kind of ideological affiliation or any kind of ideational, or they use it as like a shorthand, or like you use it in order to achieve something, to maximize your utility in a sense of what? It's material gains as well. So they would actually allocate more resources. So this kind of electoral district, it needs, you know, more funding or more resources in order to have like good schools, in order to have more healthcare program, health insurance. This kind of it means like new pension schemes, because the vast majority of voters are elders or pensionaries. So as a voter, you need to maximize the utility income in a sense of the flow of benefits that you can gain from the government activities or from the government policies. Okay, so it's still like, you know, maximizing utility in a sense. And the other assumption, as a voter, you are fully aware of all like the policy platforms of the opposition. So you know, you have the information about the policy programs or the opposition's strategies. So you make your calculations. Your calculations here, the difference between the actual performance of the existing government. So the existing government offers you it offers you information about its platform. This is like the utility you derived from the existing environment, the existing government, and then the platform of the opposition, and you subtract, you know, both, and you can vote for the one that would maximize or increase your utility incomes or would increase your benefits. But realistically, this is model one, and he actually comes up with another model, because as a rational voter, you don't bother, like you're better off being ignorant, kind of. You don't have to make, you know, all these calculations or to collect information about, you know, all opposition parties, all policy programs, in order to make, you know, these kind of subtractions and to come up with this rational decision. So that's why, as a rational, the second model, he focused on the ideological position of political parties. So political parties, this kind of ideological labels, these labels offer like this kind of verbal image of a good society, in his own words, meaning like center left or leftist or right or center right. So you know from this kind of ideological position what kind of policies or what kind of policy programs they would offer. So for example, like right wingers or center left, they do care more about liberal economy. They have like more favorable policies for business associations or business people. But if you do care more about, you know, social spending or social expenditure, so you have like this kind of leftist or left-leaning political parties. So you vote these kind of ideological positions, it offers you the foundation for your choice. So this is kind of rationality from like political parties, as they need to maximize votes to reach power, and voters that they need to maximize the utility incomes or the flow of benefits they would derive from the government. So imagine like he within this kind of democratic environment, so you can have like two-party system or multi-party systems or multi-party democracies. So in two-party system, as a voter, you have like fixed preferences, okay? So you don't update your preferences. If you vote left, if you vote like for Republicans, you will you will always vote for conservative candidates. If you are a liberal or a Democrat, so you have this kind of fixed preference. You will vote for Democrats all the way through. So here, as a voter, you have like this fixed preference, and you have this kind of ideological preference in order to cast a vote for your favorite candidate or your favorite party. And as a party, you are a pure kind of office seeker. And the main assumption here is you have this kind of I think you followed introduction to statistics, and you know the normal distribution, right?
Yes, right. Yes.
Yeah. So the assumption here, this kind of preferences are normally distributed. Okay, like you don't have like the curve here is not skewed, you know, to the left or to the right. You don't have like too many radicals, too many extremists. Okay, so it's kind of normally distributed and fixed preferences. And as a rational political party, you need to reach power. So you have to move towards the center, to the crucial, what the median voter, the crucial middle of the road voter. So you see the light gray one, like you leave out, you know, the extremists. So you leave out, you know, this dark gray areas, and to move a little bit, you know, towards, you know, the middle, in order to maximize, you know, their these votes. So if you focus your policy program on this, like dark gray area, if you compare this to the light gray area, rationally you have to move, you have to shift, you know, towards, you know, this kind of median voter in order to attract more votes, and to leave out, you know, these extremists, because the number is not kind of significant. Okay, there is kind of critique, you know, to this, because he actually departs from Down's models. The models here didn't pay much attention to the normative element. So the actually political parties, they formulate their policy programs in light of like the voters' preferences, in order to attract votes, not to implement, you know, these policy programs or these policy platforms. And it actually depicted, you know, these kind of policy programs as external or exogenous to the political competition. So how about, meaning political parties actually can shape vote preferences instead of responding or shifting their policy positions in response to voters' preferences. And there is kind of update in preferences as well. So voters might update their preferences. How about like swing voters? Okay, so there is kind of, there's no, you cannot speak of like fixed preferences. There are kind of, there's a variability of voter preferences. But the main point here, in regardless of the critique, the main point as like, as a rational political party, so you have to move your policy programs or to position yourselves towards the median voter, or the crucial middle of the road voters. And as a rational voter, you will choose, you know, the party or the favorite party that would correspond to your ideological flavor or ideological position, right or left. And he didn't deny the existence of multi-party democracies as well. And rationality in this sense is still like political parties, they need to reach power or to maximize votes, but without diluting or without sacrificing these ideological differentiation with other parties. So that's why it might be less coherent. And I'm not sure if you studied political parties and electoral systems in your introduction to political science, but in this sense, it would be very hard to form a government. There is no kind of a majority government to be formed, so it would be kind of less coherent. But as a rational voter, how would you behave in this environment? Any guesses on this?
You mean in the multi-party democracies?
Yeah. If you have like more than two options, it's not Republican or Democrat.
It will be very difficult to collect all the programs of the parties and to know all the ideologies. I will just choose the the party that introduced the ideology that fit me.
Yeah, you still choose the favorite party.
Yes.
But if your favorite party doesn't have like a significant chance of winning, okay. So as a rational actor, you can choose like the second preference party, okay? So in order to keep the least favorable one from winning, okay? So as a rational actor, so you might you might have ideologically, you can find kind of belonging, or you can
an alternative.
Sorry.
We will search for an alternative party.
The least favorable, but it has like much more or chance of winning than your first preference. Okay, so as a rational actor, you would go for the second party in your favorable list in order to keep the least favorable ones from winning. Or as a rational actor as well, if you think more about future and you need to increase your favorite party, to increase chances of your favorite party in future elections, so you would cast a vote anyway for your favorite party, even if your party doesn't have it. It depends on your mindset or your preference, your system of preference in this situation or in this context.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Doctor, wouldn't be the rational person will be a more pragmatic person? He wouldn't have a preference in, in a political party. He would only choose the party that serves his interests. He would.
Yeah, this is one of the yeah, this is one of the assumption.
Okay.
Yeah, to maximize your utility. Yeah.
In the multi-party
but this is
democracies,
one of the critique, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
In the multi-party democracies, I understand the voters, but I can't understand what parties should do, or what's the form of parties.
They maximize votes, but they don't. They stick to their ideological position. They don't change their policy programs. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Please, doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I have got it well, but I think is this related to coalition governments?
Yeah.
Yes, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you.
But the thing is, you focus here not the functionality of the government or what kind of the government would be formed, from this, but you focus on the motivations and the rationality of both parties. Like, like the voter and the both sides, the voter and the political parties.
Yes,
okay?
Right. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the critiques. And by the way, when we talk about in the very last lecture, I don't want to complicate things right now. We will talk about in the week when I explain state on market, we will have some sort of application of the collective action problem, and we will see how this kind of Alson's analysis about group size and efficiency of as a main determinant of efficient group organization or interest organization is not applicable in some context. Okay, you will see application, but in as real world examples, it doesn't function the way they simplified. Okay, but the main issue, the main thing here is they try to apply rationality to some political and to some comparative, political themes with some sort of gaps and critiques. But let's focus on the main critiques of the theory and the median voter as well. They receive some sort of criticism, but if you care about this, I can touch upon this in the very last lecture. Okay, but for now, how they applied these kind of assumptions to particular political themes and the main assumptions, and what kind of criticism or critiques many opponents offer to rational choice theory. Okay, as a theory, the main assumptions, okay, regardless of the applications. So theoretically and methodologically, what kind of caveats and what kind of shortcomings and drawbacks we can speak of or we can highlight. So, and again, rationalists, they have kind of replies to all of the critiques, okay, but you have to avail yourself of what kind of criticism or what are the critiques and how rational choice actually respond to these critiques. Okay, but they are and again, it's pretty much related to our general objective or general aim, just to say that it can be there is kind of disputes or disagreements between political scientists, and no kind of political theory achieved kind of predominant position. They are still there, and they respond to some critiques and some concerns by modifying, you know, their own models. But you have to be aware of these shortcomings, and you have to be aware of the critiques or the main what critics, you know, would say about the main assumptions of rational choice. And with every application, so this is like a general criticism, okay, about the assumption and the methodology and the ontology and the epistemology of the rational choice. But with every application, you can find, you know, criticism as well. Okay.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay. So the thing here, the first one is rational choice. They don't pay much attention to the social structure, this kind of holistic, you know, structure, or the positionality of different groups, or of you as an individual within this social structure, because for them, as an individual, you follow rules more than, this is the criticism, okay? You follow rules rather than making choices. So you are kind of constrained by these kind of institutional rules or institutional environment that actually the environment determines not only like it shapes actually your behavior and your action, and it limits your choices. So you don't actually, technically you don't make choice, but you just follow rules. And we will talk more about this in the new institutionalism week. But for now, like let's see how like this kind of how critics, you know, offer or highlight, you know, this kind of point of weakness, and how rational choice proponents respond to this. So as an individual, you are not like fully autonomous while making your decision. You are kind of constrained or limited by your structural environment. So rational choice people would say, you know what, we do pay attention to the institutional rules or institutional constraints, and we don't assume that despite the fact that all of the individual decisions are being made within institutional rules or institutional constraints, but the individual choices are not totally or completely determined by the structure. You still have some room in order to have like this autonomous choice or autonomous action. And in a sense, as an agency, or agency choices can affect the entire structure or can influence the outcome. And I'll talk more on this when we talk about historical institutionalism and path dependency, but take it for now as it is, okay? So as an agency, for example, at some critical moments, regime collapse, like social upheaval, like elite defections, these moments, you as an agency, your choices would affect, you know, the structure would emanate from, or would affect the outcome that would, your choices and your behavior would affect the outcome from, or at this critical moment. We will talk more about this in the new institutionalism week. And the second form of, or important, you know, criticism is psychological critiques as well. For opponents of rational choice, they actually they oversimplify, you know, the human, the psychology of a human being, and the cognitive processes, you know, they have to go through in order to make decision, or that would shape their action. For Olson, for example, this large group thing and collective action problem, how about philanthropy, or this kind of a charitable organization, and what kind of this kind of sense, or this system of preferences that would give priority to altruism, like non-egoistic preferences. So regardless of the group size, people will get together, would join, you know, this voluntarily, would join this charitable organization in order to offer, you know, some public goods. Maybe they don't like derive any kind of benefits or gains from that. So psychologically, rational choice, the people, they don't capture quite well, you know, these kind of emotional dynamics or psychological dynamics, and perhaps these kind of normative motivations and religious conviction that would motivate people to take these kind of altruistic choice or non-egoistic action. And when it comes to psychology and cognition as well, there are so many, they overestimate the calculative capacity of a human being, that they overestimated the did trust, the they assume that a human being would detach from these kind of cognitive biases and emotional dynamics in order to make these kind of rational choices or rational decision making. For example, like this kind of wishful thinking, when people psychologically, when people really desire something, so they maybe overestimate, the probability of occurrence or the probability of the outcome. Like psychologists as well, they spoke of so many cognitive biases, for example, like anchoring biases. It's very hard for like a cognitive system or these kind of cognitive processes to update or to adjust, to update their preferences in light of okay, so you have your initial probability estimate about political candidates. Okay, so you actually you look down on these like ideological groups or political parties. Okay, so so you anchor your estimations or probability estimation towards, or in this kind of your initial estimate, regardless of any kind of information that would emerge later that would actually behoove you to go back to your probability estimates and to change or to adjust these probability estimates in light of new information or new updates. Okay. Okay.
Doctor, can you please give another example for the psychological critiques, because I didn't get it?
Yeah, I know. Okay. So you have like one professor that is like who is like notoriously known for tough grades. Okay. And this like this piece of information is like being disseminated for so long, okay, or like particular course or particular module, you actually people like previous students, they take this is really hard tough professor, and this is like very difficult course, so I'm not going to follow this. Okay, so you actually have this initial probability estimate that if you really enroll in this class, okay, so you're going to fail, or you are going to get like lower grades comparing to other courses. Okay, and then another students or in the same year your colleagues actually followed the same course, but they got like like high grades and they spoke highly of the professor. Okay, in light of this new information, you didn't adjust your initial probability estimate. You still stick to your probability estimate. So if I enroll in this class, or if I register in this class, I'm going to fail. Okay, this is
the belief that I enrolled to the course with this belief.
Even the professor did like offered more kind of incentives in order to or actual or effective behavior or information in order to update your probability estimates. Your brain doesn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, so these are like psychological biases or cognitive biases as well. And you know what, rational choice theory would say, you know what, we don't talk about bounded rationality, didn't we? We talked about bounded rationality, and we still like these cases would be anomalous. It's still like we can offer a standard explanation, like human being would, in light of new information, would update their probability estimate. Okay, but these other cases would be like can be treated as exceptional or anomalous cases, but on average the theory holds true that like a human being can make this kind of reason and can deploy reason in order to make the best choices.
Okay.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, Malak?
As a rational person, he will adopt these changes, and he will think using the reason that he's going to change his decision. Or he's going to change the first idea. For example, if I have an idea that this professor is strict or something, then I recognize that while taking the course with him, he changed his way. He's offering some help. So يعني as a rational person, I'll change this.
Yeah, this is what rationalists would say. This is a standard explanation. Maybe some others, wouldn't do that. And these people, your colleagues, would be like exceptional cases rather than like the norm or the standard or the pattern. Because as from their positivistic stand, they seek to understand regularities and patterns. Right? So still the theory holds true, even if with the existence of these kind of cognitive biases or psychological critiques. It doesn't undermine the foundation of the theory. Okay?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah, you got it? So it's kind of critics and proponents of rational choice, how they have this kind of debates between them, okay?
Okay.
This is like a standard political science. This is the third one. This is like the methodological and it's pretty much related to the philosophy of science. Let me I'll try to simplify as much as I can. Okay. Okay. So the adaptability or the modifications of the model is being criticized, while rational choice rationalists actually would depict this as a kind of theory refinement or model refinement. Critics actually would say, you know what, you avoid falsification. You actually introduce ad hoc modifications by saying, you know what, it's a self-interest. It's kind of a mix of self-interest or non-egoistic preferences would account for the outcome. This kind of it would be like tautological explanations in order to avoid, being wrong or falsifiability. Meaning, if Farida if I ask for a volunteer that in order to organize, our Zoom sessions, okay? And then Farida volunteered in order to do that. So she allocated some of her time and created, this WhatsApp group in order to coordinate or in order to deliver, my messages to you guys on WhatsApp. Okay, and Malak actually refused to do that. Okay, as rational theory, I proponent or rationalist would explain this still within the main assumptions of the model, because they actually say that, you know what, the motivations, it could be self-interest or egoistic and non-egoistic. So I can still explain the different outcomes between how Farida behaves and how Malak behaves in light of the main assumptions of the rational choice. So this way, rationalists evaded, the probability of proving wrong or the falsifiability of their model. Okay. And as I mentioned in last lecture, this kind of motivation, you as political scientist or comparativist, you have to know this in advance, ex ante, not ex post, from their behavior. For rational choice, this kind of a mix between egoistic and non-egoistic, self-interest and altruism, would account for the outcome. And how do you know that? Because I know people, I see people behaving, the manifestation of their behavior. So I know that it must be true because people behave the way they behaved. So I see this in action. So this is kind of what they call tautological explanation, okay? You offer ad hoc assumptions in order to avoid, this kind of being wrong or falsifiability. This is related to philosophy of science. I might touch upon this in the last lecture. But the essence here, you cannot be you cannot be proven wrong by each time you receive kind of critique and go to the model and refine the model by offering, some assumptions. Okay, And so anything people would do, any kind of behavior would be what they called revealed preference. Okay, like I know this from your behavior, but if I know this beforehand, like people are self-interest. Okay, if I do believe in this, so if I ask you guys to volunteer to organize, this kind of WhatsApp group, no one would answer. No one actually would volunteer, because you have so many courses, you have like workload. We're like working in this kind of abnormal or exceptional circumstances, so no one would do that. But if I go back to the model and I add these kind of ad hoc modifications by adding this kind of non-egoistic preferences or altruistic, motivations or motivations, and then I see Malak in action, doing that, so I'll never be wrong, right? From what Malak did, or whatever people would do, it would be like revealed preferences. But I didn't know this ex ante. I didn't know this like in advance. So I have to know this, in advance in order to have like, a explanatory and predictive power. And again, like rational choice, like proponents or advocates of rational choice would say, no, we actually offered, this kind of assumptions about uncertainty and constraints in order to offer, again, this kind of parsimonious analysis. We don't care about, we don't really assume that we can capture the complexity of human behavior. And this is what Margaret Levy, would mention, like rational choice would have its own critics all the way through, that they feel like they are kind of abhorrent, or they don't really like or extremely unacceptable of this positivistic essence, this kind of causality, X causes Y. And the main target is to offer like a standard explanation. The theory can hold true on average, and with this kind of partial universalism, is still like rational choice can offer, can provide, some insightful analysis and powerful explanation for human behavior. And Heward mentioned, like rationalists, they don't need to be overprotective about their model or assumptions. In some places, even the modifications, these kind of modifications don't do well, or don't explain, rational choice don't do well in explaining, these kind of social and political phenomena, especially, when it comes to the cognitive biases and psychological biases, kind of, even like these kind of modifications, there are kind of irrationalities that rational choice actually cannot modify the model in order to get like full grasp of these kind of irrational or inefficient outcomes. I'll touch upon like this kind of multiple equilibria thing. Back to, this is related to the strategic interdependence or the strategic interaction between you guys. Game theory, or like the game theory, the standard one, it doesn't offer like, this kind of how actors actually coordinate, how they come up with this kind of common guesses, because you don't have full information. So you don't know, you don't, if you have a competitor, so you don't have like full information about how she will respond. And you will, I'll say this, and if you need like more elaboration or more explanations, I can do that in office hours, okay? But for now, the whole thing about equilibrium here, you guys, it's kind of interdependence or strategic interaction between like at least two players, okay? So you will respond to each other until you reach a point no improvement would be possible. So you don't have any kind of interest to defect or to change the outcome, to change the course of action. This would say this is kind of political equilibrium. Like you reach a point, no player has any kind of incentive to defect or to change the course of the outcome. For example, in highly divided societies, people would create, we will talk more about this when we talk about rational choice institutionalism, so don't worry. So here, like they come up with this electoral system that would allow for the representation of minorities, okay, like minority groups, but they introduced this idea of threshold. Like in order for a political party to get some seats in the parliament or the legislature. So the party has to achieve like 5%, for example, of the national vote. So the incentive here, if your party as a minority has some commonalities with other minority parties, so the best course of action is to get together to form a coalition or to have the same electoral list in order to have like some sort of to increase your seats in the legislature, right? But again, like game theory, the people like the rational choice people, they didn't tell us more about how people, how both parties, would coordinate, like would converge on the same list in the upcoming elections, because they feel that perhaps this part would gain more seats, would like force us to subordinate or to join your position. So we better off running alone, like to have like a separate list. So it's kind of, this is not the best reply to the intention of the other party would say, like to have like a joint electoral list. But game theorists would say with this kind of repetitive games and evolutionary, this kind of routine would evolve as a normative code, would help you coordinate, would help you collaborate in order to maximize your benefits or to maximize your the outcomes. So here, repeated, electoral games. Okay, so sometimes you didn't, the party doesn't offer the best reply to the other one, but repeatedly the iterative games, when repeating, this game all over again, people will learn, would acquire, some sort of norms and behavior, and would amend and copy, the kind of the best strategies or the best practices that would maximize their, would help them coordinate and to achieve, the efficient or optimal political equilibrium. Okay. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So far, it's okay. The critiques, you understand this like well.
In the bounded rationality, I understand the example of the minority, or we seek to have the most outcome. So the two minority parties will emerge to have the most the seats، the اكتر عدد من السيتس يعني. ده اللي انا فهمته من الحته بتاعت الباوندد rationality دي.
Okay, so can you guys like put it concisely what kind of shortcoming we can highlight or pinpoint when we talk about the predictive and the explanatory power of the rational choice model? So what kind of critique you can highlight when we talk about this kind of ad hoc modifications, despite the fact that rational choice people would say this is kind of a refinement of the model? So critics would say, you know what, this is like, especially Green and Shapiro when they talk pathologies of rational choice. So what kind of criticism you can speak of here? Okay, I'll give a bonus.
To study the theories with.
Sorry?
Think concrete to study.
I can't hear. There is interruption.
Behavior with.
Sorry? Again.
Okay.
I didn't hear you.
Nothing concrete to study the political.
I can't hear you. Can you write down?
Trying to change my internet connection. Okay.
You lost connection?
Concrete as everything is able
No.
to be modified.
I cannot hear you. I think there is something wrong with the connection. So any thought? Any other thought on that? So the thing is how rational choice, the whole point here, how rational choice actually deals with the complexity in politics, because if you have like, again, like, you know, a merchant, you know, he's engaging in particular, like, you know, transactions. So I know this in advance, I know this beforehand, that the main motive or the motivation of this behavior is maximizing, you know, his wealth, right? But in political science, you know, this kind of wide range of interest and wide range of payoffs that might be material or non-material, it makes it very difficult for rationalists to predict, you know, the human behavior, or to generalize about human behavior from these kind of self-interest and these kind of limited assumption. So what they did, they modified the model in order to somehow to capture in a way or partially these kind of complexities of human behavior or human being, by introducing these kind of normative preferences, social roles, rules, sense of duty, these kind of non-egoistic preferences in order to understand human behavior. Yeah, you're right. So Lujain is saying that everything being able to be modified urged the theory to lose its concrete essence. Yeah, it's like it's not essence, it's still the same essence, but it actually, like methodologically, I'll talk about this, like, you know, in the very last week, it avoids, you know, a falsification. You cannot prove it wrong. It undermines its predictive. It's not like Lujain saying discredits the theory. It's not like because it's still there, like, you know, they might say, you know what, we offer like partial universalism, and still, like, you know, the theory holds true about our assumption about self-interest, about rationality, and these kind of uncertainty and constraints, they hold true on average, and any other anomalies. Yeah, it undermines its predictive and explanatory power, because the main thing, or the main target, is to reach out, or to form, you know, this kind of general law that can travel across different countries, or different that it actually holds true across different contexts and over time. Okay, so this is the essence. Okay. So by saying that and offering, you know, this kind of ad hoc assumptions with these kind of multiple equilibria, like it's not only self-interest, but perhaps like non-egoistic preferences, it doesn't offer a standard explanation about human behavior. Okay, but again, like rational choice, they didn't receive this, and they might say, you know what, these cases might be treated as exceptional or anomalous cases. Still, we can offer, like, you know, parsimonious analysis. We cannot sacrifice this kind of rigorous analysis, and we cannot sacrifice the analytical rigor in order to have more complex analysis. In order to have these kind of parsimonious analysis and to have like a good theory, we need to offer, you know, this kind of partial universalism, and by modifying the model and introducing these kind of constraints and uncertainty in order to capture well, not to grasp, you know, the whole reality, but we can grasp, you know, different dimensions and different angles of social and political phenomena.
Doctor, sorry.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time, and some of
Time out يا دكتور.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just wanted to make, because of your reaction paper, so I just wanted to make sure that you got it well. So I'm gonna post instructions on Moodle regarding your reaction paper, but generally speaking, you need to focus on the assumptions.
Doctor.
One of the applications, 1,500 words. Okay, and it's due on Sunday. You can work.
Doctor.
Yeah, it's a collaborative work, so you can have a group of 5 in order to achieve, or to write down your reaction paper. Yeah. Who's talking?
الأوفيس hours هتكون بعد lecture ولا مفيش؟
Yeah.
يارا.
Just drop me. Yeah, just email me in order to. I'm gonna post the link on Moodle, and but I prefer just to have, like, specific, to give you specific time, to access the Zoom meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And meanwhile, if you have any question regarding your reaction paper, just email me. Okay. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. So after you finish your reading, and you have to divide things up, to divide the work between you guys. And if you have any question, just email me. Perhaps, I might be off, on Friday and for some time on Thursday, but I'll try my best to respond to your emails. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Yeah. See you next week. Bye.